Once upon a time, there was a small village surrounded by thick forests and towering mountains. In this village lived a young girl named Mira. Mira had always been a curious soul. She loved exploring the woods, climbing the hills, and watching the birds fly freely in the sky. It filled her with dreams of adventure, and she often wondered what lay beyond the hills that framed her small village. Mira had heard of a place, a beautiful valley said to be filled with flowers of every color, a place of peace, where the air was sweet and everything seemed magical. It was a place people spoke about in hushed voices, the kind of place that felt like a dream, too distant to touch. Every time she asked someone about it, she received the same reply. It's not worth the risk. The journey is too dangerous, filled with obstacles that no one can overcome. Many have tried, but none have succeeded. But the more people warned her, the more her curiosity burned. Mira wanted to see this valley with her own eyes. She knew she had to try, even if it seemed impossible. The thought of being one of the few brave enough to discover its wonders excited her. She decided that one day she would embark on the journey that everyone warned her against. That day came sooner than she expected. After another restless night, Mira finally made up her mind. She woke before dawn, while the village was still asleep. She packed some food, filled a flask with water, and set off on the journey that filled her with both hope and fear. As she left the village behind, she took one last look at her home, knowing that the path ahead was full of uncertainty. As she started climbing the first hill, the path was easy. The early morning sunlight warmed her back, and the birds sang cheerfully as if to cheer her on. Mira smiled, her confidence growing. She began to think maybe the journey wouldn't be as difficult as everyone said. But soon enough, the easy path turned into a steep slope covered in loose rocks. One wrong step, and she could tumble down the mountainside. Mira hesitated, hearing the warnings echo in her mind. For a moment, she considered turning back, but something inside her whispered that this was just the beginning, that the beauty she sought would be beyond these challenges. She took a deep breath, steadied her hands, and began to climb. Each rock she grasped felt uncertain, but Mira focused on every step. Her fingers were scraped, her arms ached, but slowly she pulled herself to the top. When she reached the crest, she paused to catch her breath, her heart pounding from both fear and triumph. The view was incredible, endless hills rolling like waves into the horizon. But as Mira stood there, dark clouds began to gather, and a chill swept through the air. A storm was brewing, the once clear sky turned grey, and the first drops of rain began to fall. Thunder echoed across the mountains, and Mira felt fear creeping in. She had nowhere to go except forward. As the rain began to pour harder, she spotted a small cave nearby. She hurried inside, taking shelter as the storm raged on. The sound of the rain pounding against the rocks was deafening, and the wind howled through the trees. Mira could see the path she had climbed turning into a slippery, dangerous trail. She wondered if she had made a mistake. Maybe everyone had been right about the journey. But then she sat quietly, listening to the rhythm of the rain, feeling the walls of the cave around her. She realized that the fear she felt was part of the journey. She decided then that she wouldn't give up. She would wait out the storm. She would move forward no matter how long it took. And so she waited patiently, and eventually the storm began to pass, the clouds breaking to reveal the sunlight once more. The next day, Mira continued her journey. It wasn't easy. She crossed rivers whose currents threatened to sweep her away. She climbed hills that left her breathless, each step feeling heavier than the last. She walked through thick forests where thorns caught at her clothes and scratched her skin. She had to sleep beneath the stars where the cold of the night bit at her, and strange sounds of animals filled the darkness. Each time Mira faced a new challenge, she grew more tired. But she also noticed something else. She was becoming stronger. Her hands, once soft, were now tough from all the climbing. Her legs, once shaky, now carried her further without rest. Her heart, once filled with fear, was now steady and filled with determination. She began to realize that each challenge, each obstacle, was changing her, transforming her into someone stronger and braver than before. One day, after what felt like weeks of traveling, Mira finally reached the top of the highest hill. Before her lay the valley, more beautiful than anything she had ever imagined. The flowers seemed to dance in the breeze, a sea of colors stretching as far as her eyes could see. A rainbow arched across the sky, and the crystal-clear stream ran through the valley, its waters sparkling in the sunlight. Mira stood there, tears filling her eyes, not just because of the beauty, but because of the journey she had taken to get there. She realized then that it wasn't just the valley that mattered. It was everything she had overcome to reach it. The steep slopes, the storms, the thorns, the cold nights, all of them had made this moment more meaningful. If she had turned back, if she had let fear stop her, she would never have known the strength she carried within herself. Mira walked down into the valley, and for the first time she felt truly free. She sat by the stream, dipping her hands into the cool water, her heart filled with a quiet pride. She understood now. The obstacles weren't there to stop her. They were there to teach her, to make her resilient, and to prepare her for the beauty that awaited her. Without the struggles, she wouldn't have grown. Without the journey, the valley would have just been another story, a distant dream. She stayed in the valley for a while, resting and enjoying the fruits of her journey. She picked flowers, watched the birds, and felt the warm sun on her face. When she finally returned to her village, she was no longer the same girl. She was braver, stronger, and knew that any challenge in life was simply a step towards something more beautiful. And so, when people in the village asked her about the valley, she would smile and say, "The beauty is worth the struggle. The path may be hard, and the obstacles many, but every step makes you stronger. The valley is there, waiting for anyone brave enough to make the journey." Life is like Mira's journey. The storms, the steep climbs, the thorny paths, they are all part of making us who we are meant to be. Every obstacle is an opportunity to grow. Every struggle is a chance to become stronger. It's not about avoiding the challenges. It's about facing them, learning from them, and knowing that something beautiful lies beyond them. So, when you face your own mountains, don't turn back. Keep climbing. The valley is waiting for you.